Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Welcome to another video. Those of you who have been following along in the sequence of these videos have taken the various stair steps that we've gone through, the building blocks, if you will, because we started off talking about purpose, what purpose is, the power and impact that it can have, and then discovering your unique purpose. And then we went from there to backing up the purpose that we have with trying to understand why you would want to go about doing this. And then we got into energizing your purpose and talking about the gaps that exist between where you are and where you want to be and how we go about closing those gaps. And today I want to focus in a little bit on what I call the power of gaps. Now you might say, well, gee, Gary, what's that all about? Because if there's a gap between where I am and where I want to be, how can there be power in that chasm that I have to cross in order to be able to get where I want to be? And that's what we're going to talk about today. In my book, I made a quote in this book called Purpose-Driven Achievement that I wrote and published last year. I put a quote in there from one of the talks that I gave that said, it's not about what you want to accomplish that's important. It's about who you're willing to become in order to accomplish. Zig Ziglar put it a different way. He said, you have to be before you can do, and you have to do before you can have. So he's talking about the first step is becoming, and then after becoming is doing, and you don't have until you've done. Do you get that? You have to be before you can do, and you have to do before you can have. My mentor, John Maxwell, talks about the law of the lid, and the lid is like a glass ceiling. And he said you will never break through that glass ceiling until you become someone different. So what is the power of gaps? Well, as we already said, it's not just about what you want to do, it's more about who you must become. And there are two laws that come into play here that I think that are vitally important. The first law is the law of awareness. And that was the whole exercise that we went through in identifying some of the gaps that exist between where we are and where we want to be. And the law of awareness simply says you have to know yourself before you can grow yourself. You have to know that those gaps exist, and you have to know what they are before you can close them, right? I mean, that makes sense. And the second law that comes into play is the law of intentionality. And the law of intentionality teaches us two vital things. First of all, the law of intentionality says when it comes to the gaps in your life, you and you alone are responsible for your personal and professional development. If you're going to become a different person in order to accomplish your purpose in life, it's 100% on you. It's not on your wife, it's not on your husband, it's not on your significant other, it's not on your friends, it's not on your professors at school, it's not on your mom and dad, it's 1,000% on you. And the second thing that the law of intentionality tells us is that we must be intentional about closing those gaps. So basically what it's saying, when you combine those two laws, you have to be aware of the gaps that need to be closed. You have to accept personal responsibility for closing those gaps, and then you have to have a plan for how those gaps are going to get closed. And that plan gets factored into the goal process that you're going to go through as far as achieving in life. It's really, really important to understand that, because we all have limitations that we're dealing with. I mean, Clint Eastwood in the Dirty Harry movie said, man's got to know his limitations. We have to know the gaps in our lives, because if we don't know those gaps, we have no hope of being able to close them and get closer and closer to the attainment of our purpose. So the power of gaps is in learning to be aware of and understand ourselves. And it requires us, in addition to looking at the skill sets like we looked at in one of the prior videos, what skills do you need to develop? What things do you really need to learn in order to be successful in life? This takes us down a little bit different pathway, because we really have to analyze ourselves in our current situation. And we have to ask ourselves things like, what's my relationship with God? Are my spiritual relationships something that's important to me or not? And if spiritual things are important to me, where am I currently compared to where I want to be or where I should be? What about my relationships? My relationship with my wife, my children, my boss, my friends, other people in the business world. What is the current state of those relationships, and where might I need to make some changes? Mental, physical, and emotional status. How am I mentally, physically, emotionally? Am I overweight? Do I need to get some exercise in order to be able to have more energy? Do I have that positive, upbeat attitude? Am I radiating positive energy? And if not, what do I need to do to put myself in a position where I can do that? What financial condition am I in? In one of our other videos, I said, what kind of financial resources are going to be required for you to move toward the attainment of your goals? Where are you financially versus where you need to be? What are your vocational achievements? What are the things that you've achieved that you're really, really proud of? And how do you move forward and continue to improve that as you go forward? What level of social engagement do you have? Are you the type of person who has, a million different friends that maybe a half-inch deep because they're just more acquaintances than they are friends? Or are you the type of person who just has a few close friends, but your close friends are really close, you know them well? Where do your relationships need to be, and how do you go about cultivating any changes that you need to make? And finally, hobbies and avocations. Do you have a way where you can periodically unplug yourself from the world? Because we all need to be able to recharge our batteries. Are you doing that so that you have the energy to be able to pursue your purpose and to pursue your dream? And as you think about those things, you begin to understand the power that gaps can have, because it shows us where we are and where we need to be, and it helps us map out a clear process to get from where we are to where we want to be. So that's the power of gaps. I hope you found this helpful. God bless you. Go live your life intentionally, on purpose today. Make it an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.